Good evening, this is Joel Wortman from Mission Gray Studios, and today we're going to be putting together a 3D text from exported elements from Adobe Illustrator. So here is an example of what I put together. This is my new logo setup, textography, and you got a wall here. Did some rendering and some lighting, some nice shading here. We can go over that a little bit maybe, but the biggest part we're concerned about here is the shape that we bring in from another program. So I got Illustrator open. We're going to go File, Open. I have my file. Got to open that up. As you can see, it is just a vector-based design. Now, the one thing I've discovered that if you have this too small, it does not react well in 3D Studio. It's too small when you try to extrude stuff. The smallest depth is too much to really give any fine control over the size of this. So what I have to do, go in here and bring this up. And I'm actually going to do maybe 8,000 this time, because last time I did it, it was still pretty good, but I'm going to do 8,000 by 5,000. Control 0 to zoom out. Grab, oops, click out of this so we have our, and bring this over here. Grab this corner, pull it over, push S to keep it the same scale. Excellent. There we go. So go File, Save As. I'm going to save it as this. Actually, I want to save it in an easier folder to find. Documents, Reduce to Max, Export. There we go. Save again. Now, when this dialog box pops up, we need to make some adjustments, which is this one. Right now, it's currently saved in a CS5 format. We actually want to change that to a Illustrator 3 format. Now, that's so that Adobe or 3D Studio Max will actually open it up. It won't open up in the new format, any of the newer formats. It's supposed to work in, I think, Illustrator 9, but I haven't had any success. The only one I got to work correctly was Illustrator 3. So go ahead and pick Illustrator 3 and click OK. Close this all up, and we're ready to go into 3D Studio Max. Okay, here we are. We go File, Import, and there's our file. Merge object, completely replace. It just depends on what you're doing. We'll just do completely replace current scene. And in this case, we have a single object. If you had multiple shapes, you could do multiple objects. We just want to do a single object. There we go. There is our nicely set up shape. As you can see, it looks exactly the same. Sometimes you might have to play with that depending on how well it comes in here and renders. I think you should be really careful when you're in Illustrator about adding weird vertices and that kind of stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and just pull this up straight 90 degrees. And I use the angle to snap toggle to keep it so it's actually 90 degrees up. And there we go. So you can do this with text, any design, any shape. So go here. One thing I like to do is I like to bring all my points down to 0. So if you right click on any of these little clickers, it'll bring it to 0. And hit Z to zoom out so everything is scale. So go ahead and select your item. And now we're going to go up to, so we have it right now, it's an editable spline, which is really useful. You can actually add stuff like, say you want to slightly adjust something like that, you can. If you want to move these around after, it makes it really nice to adjust things. So if you feel like you want to adjust this a little bit, it's pretty easy to do. And what's nice is what we're going to be doing is non-destructive to the actual design, so you can edit things after. So what we're going to do is apply a bevel modifier, and right away in perspective view, if you do Alt W, you can zoom that in. We have something going on here. So if we go to our level 1, bring our height up, we can bring it to, like, say 0.1 meters. 0.1. And if we hit our render, there we go. I'll make this a little bigger. If you hear, this is all your render settings, your output size. There you go. And right now, without any shading or anything, just has a basic light, a default light set up in 3ds Studio Max. Nothing too special. But what's cool is you can bring in any type of design that you feel, be really creative and create really cool splines and such. Now, one thing, if you zoom in really close here, you can see these hard edges right there. Now, in real life, these things don't exist, and it doesn't give you anywhere where you can get some nice refraction or reflection of light there. So what this bevel gives you is this value. You can add a second value, and we'll crank that up just a tiny bit to maybe 0.02. And then on this outline, we'll give a negative value, 0.02 as well. I have to bring it down a little more. To show what that did actually, here I'll show you. If you go beyond the scope of where it can go, it does this craziness. But luckily, if you go to negative 0.05, 0.01, 0.001, there we go. Now we can start to play with this. Since I've really narrowed text, you can see it's really doesn't give a lot of space for that. So we're going to go to maybe a 2 here. Or 3, let's see what 3 does. Okay. Looks like the 3 was okay. As you can see, it does that. Oop, and over there, see? So we have to keep it down to a 2. And that was the reason partly why I was mentioning that you have to make this bigger, because as you can see, it only lets me get down to 3 values. I believe you can change those in defaults, but there's no reason to. We're moving at the thousands right now. If you're even more precise, just make your export even bigger, make it maybe 10,000 by 10,000 or something like that. So if we go back here, we can check out what's going on here. So there's our edge. It gives it a little bit of bevel. And if I render this again, there we go. Now there's a couple options here that are kind of cool. We do this curved side one. Nothing really happens. But if we increase the segments, it starts to do some interesting stuff. It starts to give it a little bit of a rounded edge. And if you keep bringing this up, it kind of creates like a little bit of a lip, which can be really cool in text effects, depending on what you're trying to create. It's just one of those things you really got to play with. If you go back to linear sides and do smooth across levels, it makes a really nice smooth setup. There you go. And if you're even, if you do the curve side and do smooth across levels with a 1, 2, I think it looks pretty good. Nice edges and everything. Oops. And you'll see it's very finicky when you're playing with these settings, just because when things are overlapping, it creates some issues. So keep that 1 second, curved edges, very nice. Now I can show you another example of this really quick if you'd like to see. Go up here, front view. I'm going to I'll hide this. Some text. So we go under here, go to text, type in okay. And I'm going to switch this over to Bank Gothic. nice bold font, font of this one. Medium, there you go. Keeps everything uppercase. Hit the grid, turn off. So they say you just use it for text, you just want to bring text. If you go into Extrude, perspective, Z, we can do the same thing. We can bring this out and look at it. Now, we can bring this out, extrude this, see right there. And you can still do the bevel if you wish to. You could do the bevel effect. You can show that one. Increase this first height up a bit more. And like say, you can watch me bring this one down. You can really see the nice, smooth edge you can create. Say you want to make your text slightly smoother, more rounder. You can actually do is you go into, a lot of times you want to, like say, a turbo smooth, and this is what will happen if you do the turbo smooth. But there is a solution to get around this, and actually, luckily in this case, it's a very simple one. If you go up to here above the bevel, go down here. Actually, I'm going to turn on something first. We're going to switch this over to edge faces. So you can see the reason it's doing that is because it's trying to connect. The turbo smooth tries to connect edges, and when you have like these edges here, it's going, oh, I got all the space, and it just starts throwing them really far across the area. So we go down here and add quadrify mesh. What this does is increase the amount of things, or amount of vertices and lines throughout the design. And I once in a while get these really weird little, like, you saw those, let me go back to, oops. And I know sometimes I'm going into a quad size 0.2. It doesn't always like that. Oh. And actually the 0.7 looks pretty good, so it makes me pretty much like that. Just be really careful to throw too low a value, because it's dividing up the space. But as you can see now, when we add a turbo smooth, it still reacts kind of weird here, so we have to go down here and bring this down to, let's see if I bring this up to 2 alliterations. There we go. So I can bring this up to maybe 3 alliterations for render. Try that, and now we have some very smooth text. Sometimes you get these little burbles. You have to go in there and manually adjust some of these vertice places, or increase the quadrify. There's some more ways around that. Maybe we'll explore that in another future tutorial. But I just want you to know there is other ways to create a smooth text. So go back to the right click, unfreeze all, or unhide all. There's our logo. So we can do a quick render, perspective. We'll go ahead to the front view, zoom out, do a nice little wall, the plane. Zoom back in, perspective, create camera from view. And you can only create cameras from actual views, or a perspective view. You can't do it from the front. And we're going to take this camera, we're going to zoom out a little bit, we're going to grab the focus point so that when we adjust it, it keeps on right there. Go down to our little planet orbiter, and bring it to a nice little angle. And then we can use the pen and tilt and bring this in. And adjust this a little bit. There you go. Go to the top view again. Looks like our, oops. It's nicely placed. If you want to create some nice lighting, grab say a. Actually, we can go ahead and grab a standard light. If you grab a skylight, put it right here, and hit camera. If you go up to your render settings, advanced lighting, and select light tracer, hit the render again, and we're going to see it's a nice fall off. It's actually kind of like an ambient light, but it's really nice for seeing the detail of things that you're working on. It's very nice lights. As you see, also it does slow down the render quite a bit. This is often used for clay renders, where you can really see detail without adding a lot of materials and a lot of shading. Light just lets you add one light, and you can see what you're doing. So there was that. If you wanted to add some basic materials, hit M. Go down to your diffuse. Yeah, let's say a little bit of blue. Make this a bit of a black. On there. Mirror it again. Pause after. Oh, well, it's almost done. That final render I showed at the beginning, that took about 2 hours to render out. So I have some nice lighting effects on there. If you're interested, let me know. We can put together a tutorial about lighting, the way we did that. It gets a little more complex than I'd like to show in this tutorial. But I just wanted to give you an idea how to export stuff from Illustrator in here. And like I said, all my details in there. So you have some really detailed work, and bring it in here and extrude it so you can some really pretty stuff. And that concludes my tutorial for today. Any questions, please send me a message on Facebook or by email. My Facebook is facebook.com/MissionGray, and you can contact me on there. Thank you very much, and have a great afternoon.